According to Annex 15 of the EU GMP, an initial qualification of the equipment, facilities, utilities, and systems is not enough. Requalification should not be established, for example, every year for all your systems and equipment. Periodicity could be lower or higher depending on the risk scoring. It is important to know that requalification should not be understood as a repetition of the initial full qualification. Instead, partial repetition of the PQ or specific critical tests can be done if properly justified. It is more a review of data from routine operation. The specification parameters are usually considered and analyzed, as well as the changes in the equipment and the deviations that took place in the period considered. The document should end with a conclusion that informs about the equipment state. If big changes are made to a system or equipment, the risk assessment will need to be updated and a complete qualification should be executed. A process validation is usually referred to the establishment of documented evidence that a manufacturing process of a medicinal product does what it purports to do. It is different from process qualification, which is linked to equipment and systems. EMA and FDA definitions of process validation agree that documented evidence with data is needed to demonstrate that a process is capable of meeting pre-established specifications and quality requirements. According to Annex 15, manufacturing processes may be developed using a traditional approach or a continuous verification approach. In the original FDA guidance from 1987, Guideline on General Principles of Process Validation was focused on testing, instrument qualification, process robustness, and repeatability. This is called the traditional approach. This traditional approach was mainly used before the FDA published the Guideline Process Validation General Principle and Practices in 2011. This guidance referred to the technological advances in manufacturing as well as implementation of modern risk management and quality system tools and concepts to update the approach. Basically, the quality, safety, and efficacy are to be built into the product. It means that quality cannot be adequately assured only by in-process and finished product inspection and testing. Therefore, each step of a manufacturing process is to be controlled to assure that the finished product meets all quality attributes, including specifications. New guidelines address a process validation lifecycle and quality risk management across all stages of the lifecycle. The continuous process verification approach is an alternative to the traditional process validation approach. It is based on the application of a life cycle approach according to quality by design and risk assessment. Now, I would like to open a parenthesis to explain the main differences of 3 types of process validation in case you hear about them. Traditionally, there were 3 different types of process validations: prospective, concurrent, and retrospective. Prospective validation establishes documented evidence that a process does what it purports to do based on a pre-planned protocol. It is conducted prior to the distribution of a new product or a product produced in a modified production process. The pre-planned scientific approach includes the following steps: design, development, qualification, and production. It was generally considered acceptable that 3 consecutive batches within the finally agreed parameters, giving a product of the desired quality, would constitute a proper validation of the process. It is a confirmation on the commercial 3 batches before marketing. The big question here is if CGMP regulations still require that 3 successful process validation batches are produced before an active substance or a finished drug product is released for distribution. The response from the FDA is clearly no. The FDA does not specify a minimum number of batches to validate a manufacturing process. The agency is now recommending a product lifecycle approach. Manufacturing processes using the traditional approach should undergo a prospective validation program whenever possible prior to certification of the product. Concurrent validation establishes documented evidence that a process does what it purports to do based on information generated during actual implementation of the process. It is not a recommended approach as a routine process validation. Retrospective validation establishes documented evidence that a process does what it purports to do based on review and analysis of historic information. However, retrospective validation is no longer an acceptable approach. This phase is also termed ongoing process validation. It requires verification that the process is maintained in a state of control throughout the product lifecycle. When quality by design is used as an approach to develop the process based on an established control strategy, continuous process verification can be used as an alternative to traditional process validation. There is a control strategy for the required attributes for incoming materials, critical quality attributes, and critical process parameters to confirm product realization. Regular evaluation of the control strategy is also performed. In this approach, the number of batches necessary to demonstrate a high level of assurance that the process is capable of consistently delivering a quality product is determined based on scientific justification. Thank you for attending this course. I hope you find it useful and that you have learned what you expected. See you in other courses at Scilife Academy to continue your learning journey.